Elisha, watch this. Elisha says, tell me, what hast thou in the house? Watch this. He gives her focus. He wants to know, what do you have for God to work with? And she says, the handmaid has not anything in the house save a pot of oil. In that day, oil was like money holding much value. Isn't it funny that the thing that had value, she called it nothing? A lot of us are anointed and we call it nothing. A lot of us have giftings and callings and we call it nothing. A lot of us are talented and because we can't do what we want to do, we call it nothing. The prophet said, what do you have in your house? I called you to be the usher. I didn't call you to be the pastor. What do you have in your house? I called you to usher in the presence of God on the praise team, but you want to tell everybody what to do. What's in your house? You have the audacity to say that what God has put in you is nothing. The devil is a liar. Go ahead. Bury your talents if you want to, like the crazy fool in the Bible. Go ahead. Bury your talents. And then God come back because you only have one and everybody else has 2 and 3. It doesn't matter how many you have. You just got to work what you have. And that's how God will bless you. Work what you got. Because nobody can do you better than you can do you. Work what you got. That's why I love my husband, Pastor Kirkpatrick, because I have hair, but I like to look different, so I work what I got. One day I'm Shaka Khan, the next day I'm Cleopatra. I'm just working what I got. Watch this. Verse 3. Verse 3 says, see, when you work what you got, then the enemy can't make you feel like you ain't nothing. You won't suffer with low self-esteem. You won't be trying to keep up with the Joneses when you work what you got, because you know that when God breathed into you, he made the best of you. And you can look in the mirror and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, do you see Christ in me at all? Huh? Work what you got. Work what you got. And so watch this. Verse 3 says, go borrow these vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, empty vessels. Borrow not a few. Elisha did not tell her to go borrow money, which would cause her to be in more debt. He didn't tell her to go borrow food or to get a loan from a bank. But he told her to go borrow empty vessels. Can you imagine how she felt? Her husband was dead and now her bed is empty. They had so much that she had to sell everything in an effort to fix the problem, and her cabinets were empty. She had no table, she had no utensils, and all the cups and the jars were empty, and the creditors were coming to take her sons, and now her house was going to be completely empty. And the man of God says, I not only want you to deal with your empty stuff, but I want you to borrow everybody else's empty stuff. Can you imagine? You telling me that I'm tore up and I got to pray for somebody else? Can you imagine? That I'm barely paying my bills and you tell me to bless somebody else with my rent money. Can you imagine? This woman has emptiness all around her. And the man of God says, now that you have your emptiness, go borrow everybody else's emptiness. I can't imagine how she felt, because in your empty moments, the enemy will play mind games with you. In your emptiness, the enemy will make you feel like you're nothing and you never amount to nothing and you're never going to be nothing. In your emptiness is when God seems not to speak loud enough.